The Ascent does extremely well on its opening weekend, and Halo Infinite has a technical deep dive on how it functions on Xbox. Since the release of Xbox Game Pass and really the Xbox Series X and S, there has been this weird narrative going around that if a game releases into Xbox Game Pass, the company, the developer, is not going to be making any money because nobody is going to want to go out and purchase the game. Now, we've seen countless times that this is not the case, and that adding your game into Xbox Game Pass really just increases the amount of people that are going to be able to play and check out your game, and it does not affect sales. In fact, a lot of times it increases your sales on other platforms because the word of mouth marketing becomes larger. Well, it looks like with the highly anticipated indie game The Ascent that released on Xbox Game Pass just recently is displaying the same thing. Within its first weekend, The Ascent earned more than 5 million in sales, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that it raised to the top of Steam's global sales, and the coverage of the game on YouTube and Twitch generated more than 10 million views. Now, you can believe that a lot of those people playing the game on YouTube and on Twitch were playing it through Xbox Game Pass, so that alone gives them free access to the game if they have a subscription, which then generates many views and a lot of word of mouth marketing without actually going out and purchasing the game, which will make people go out and purchase the game on other platforms if they want to. Now, when it comes to this success, John Clark, who is the CEO of Curve, which is the company that published The Ascent, had this to say: "The Ascent is the first game out of Curve where our new team has been able to substantially make their mark working closely with the developer and our platform partners. The success is a result of genuine team effort throughout the company, the arrival of new leadership and talent, and is truly reflective of our new approach of being developer and player focused in all that we do." Now, the developers behind the game is Neon Giant, so they definitely deserve a big kudos for this game, what they have done with it. I've played this game for about 3 to 4 hours so far. I'm actually playing it with my wife, so we're playing couch co-op, so you know how that is. You're not going to be able to just run through the game if you're playing it alone, so we sit down when we have time when we play the game. But from what we've played so far, I'm absolutely loving the atmosphere, the characters, the gameplay, the RPG mechanics of it. And all in all, like I said, this just really proves how successful your game can be with good word of mouth marketing, and just the fact that more people get to be exposed to the game, and Xbox Game Pass really allows that. Now, I'm sure the Ascent still would have been great if it wasn't on Xbox Game Pass, and it still would have sold very well, but I don't know if it would have sold as much and made as much money on the opening weekend, simply for the fact that the more people that have access to the game right away, the more people are going to talk about it and the more exposure it gets. And with Xbox Game Pass, that's like 20 million people right off the bat. And again, this is just going to be another case study for a lot of these games who think that if they put their game on Xbox Game Pass, it's not going to sell, not going to make money. Clearly that isn't the case, and it continues to be shown as we go through this generation of games and as more games launch day and date on to Xbox Game Pass. Now, we recently had the technical preview for Halo Infinite. I played it on Series X, Series S, and on PC. On the Series X and the Series S, I found that it ran extremely well. Didn't see really any hiccups in the frame rate or anything like that. On PC, it didn't really run as well for me. I have a 2080 in my PC, and there was like stuttering, there was screen tearing and all this stuff. I mean, it makes sense. It is a technical preview, so you can't really take any of how this game is running right now on the technical preview as how it's going to run when it officially launches, because we're still a couple of months away from that. But Digital Foundry and Eurogamer did their thing with breaking down how the game is running on the platforms, specifically on the Xbox Series X and S that I'm going to talk about here. And they say here that the Xbox Series X and S really is running very well, even though this is not going to be representative of the final experience. So as we get to the release of the game, you can bet that it's going to be pretty much perfect when it comes out. So they say here that the Xbox Series X targets a 4K resolution in 60 Hz mode, and they use image reconstruction techniques and dynamic resolution scaling to get there. With the Xbox Series S, it runs the same in the 60 FPS mode, but targets a 1080p rendering instead. And they say that both versions ran very smoothly with very minor deviations in the frames per second. Now, with Halo Infinite, there is also going to be a 120 Hz mode, and I tested that mode out and it ran very smoothly for me. But on the Xbox Series X, when you're running it at that 120 Hz mode, it's going to be in 1440p, and you can also see some 1080p observed while you're playing it, while the Xbox Series S will be from 540p to the 900p window. Now, in terms of that 120 FPS mode as well, they say the performance isn't as solid on the Xbox Series X compared to the Series S, which is kind of interesting because they say here that the Series X delivers a more solid experience running at that locked 120 FPS mode. And I played the game a lot on my Series S on my monitor in the 120 FPS mode, and honestly just felt great the entire time. I couldn't really notice too much of the actual resolution shifting 540p 900p window, but it just felt great, it ran great, and that's really all I can ask for. Now the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One X have a performance and quality mode, but obviously they aren't functioning right now because it is the technical tests. Now when it comes to the base Xboxes, I think this is like the major thing people are waiting to see how it functions and seeing it how it works, because when it comes to the cross-generational stuff, it is a big difference between the power of these consoles, and we saw what happened with Cyberpunk and just how big of a debacle that was. And Halo Infinite was that next game that people were waiting to see if it's going to have the same issues. Now, the big difference between the base Xboxes and the current generation Xboxes is that it is going from 60 FPS on your Series X and Series S down to 30 FPS on the Xbox One. The biggest problem right now is with the Xbox One S, where they are saying it is exhibiting noticeable frame pacing issues. 30 FPS is met, but the inconsistent frame delivery doesn't look good or feel good when it kicks in. The Xbox One X, though, on the other hand, is running at that stable 30 FPS frame rate, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Xbox One S is the least powerful of them all, so it will be just really interesting to see how they work all of this out, because I think it is pretty important that the Xbox One S version does run at that locked 30 frames per second when it is launched. You don't want people who are trying to play this through, it's free to play, right? So downloading it and playing it on their One S and then having all of these issues with the frame rates and not being able to play it properly, because it's the promise they made when they announced this game that it was going to be cross-generational, and you assume that it's going to run great across all consoles. What that's going to mean probably is just decreasing some of the graphical elements. It's probably not going to look great on the One S. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people may play and then want to instantly just go upgrade this to the Series S. I mean, jumping from the One S to the Series S is a huge upgrade for a lot of people, and because of the price point of the Series S, it isn't that daunting of a thing. But we'll have to wait and see how it all functions, how it all works. They still have a couple of months to get this right, and that's why they put out this technical test, because this isn't going to be the final version, but they really just wanted to test out to see how it is working across all the different consoles and how it's working with the networking and all those things. So between now and I'm assuming November's release date, they're going to work out a lot of the stuff. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the success of the Ascent and how Halo Infinite is functioning on the various Xboxes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you like what you see throughout this video, I'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow and help grow this community so we can have great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.